Right, what's going on, YouTube? Yeah, I just wanted to talk maybe for 10 minutes. It might be longer. I tend to ramble, but yeah, I wanted to talk about Guilty Gear Strive, and in particular, Guilty Gear Strive's UI. Now, this has been a cause for discussion in a lot of ways. People hated it. People wanted it to change. People thought it looked too plain. Um, and everything in between, really. Now, I am probably one of the few people that actually liked the original Guilty Gear's UI, as strange as that might be. I actually really liked it. I thought it was very clever. But I don't think a lot of people saw it my way. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it because it seems like every single time a Guilty Gear video comes out, the UI gets brought up in discussion, with people not liking how it looks and so on. So I just wanted to just give my thoughts on it and explain why, you know, some game developers should, try not to listen as much with fans. You can use fans as guidelines, but I feel like too many game companies and just companies in general cave a bit too quickly to the mob. So yeah, so I wanted to just point out a couple of things about what a UI is supposed to do, and how they're designed and so on, and then explain Guilty Gear's UI, and just give my take on a few things. So let's start this off with a game that I'm familiar with, and I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, and that is Dragon Ball Fighters. Now, the whole point of a UI is to show you as much information as possible. I thought I'd be able to zoom that in more, but I can't. Well, not zoom it in more. I want it full screen. Anyway, the whole point of a UI is to give you as much information as possible, without the screen kind of being too cluttered. So what can we see here? We can see. Let's get a nice color. Let's go with, I guess, red on this background. So we've got. Oh, that pen's not big enough. Brushes. Uh, uh, Crayon? That could work. So anyway, we've got we've got health bars, on both sides. We've got sparking meter. Well, it's not really sparking meter, but sparking icon. We have energy, and we have time, and then we have this silly meter that they added in season 3, um, which just shows who's winning in health. Um, in case it was too close sometimes to tell. Oh, as well as, I guess, characters. Okay, so the biggest thing that I want to talk about is what a fighting game player's eyes are doing during a match. Because a lot of people might not tell. If you're a fighting game casual, you might not be paying attention to a few things. Or if you like fighting games a lot but don't really play them, and you're just a spectator, you don't have to be paying attention too much to the fight itself, so you're free to look around and do whatever you want when you're watching on a stream or a tournament or something like that. But for fighting and actually playing games, you need to get a lot of information pretty quickly. So take this scenario right here. This is starting off in, well, it's not neutral. I think they're a bit too close for neutral, but nonetheless, we're in a neutral point in the match. Goku has half a bar. Jiren's got a bar and a half, a bit more than a bar and a half. And that's kind of how it's going. Jiren's losing. They both have Spark. And Kefla's got a full health bar, and Goku have got 2 health bars. And the match is on infinite time. That's a lot of information. But what do you do with that information? So while fighting, you need to keep track of your energy, your opponent's energy. You need to keep track of their health, and you need to keep track of their sparking. As far as your health and energy, depending on how experienced you are, you can pay attention to this a little less. Um, but for instance, while you're being comboed, you don't need to be watching the opponent's combo, so your eyes can dart around a little bit as long as you're holding the tech button to get out of it. Um, your eyes can dart around a little bit. Yeah, they might go for a reset or something tricky, but for the most part, you don't need to have your eyes focused on the characters while they're comboing you. Um, but you need to keep track of your health. You won't need to keep track of your sparking as much. I think you'd know if you popped sparking or not. And then you need to keep track of your bar. Now, if we think about this for a second, what eye movements are involved? So, unfortunately, I don't have an eye tracker. I don't have any eye tracker software, so I can't really explain this too well. So I'm going to have to use paint and the graphics to kind of point this out. But while fighting, while doing a combo, if you want to end your combo with a super attack, your eyes would have to be here doing the combo, or depending on your muscle memory, it could probably dart around a bit, but your eyes would have to be focused on the characters. You then need to take your gaze slightly and look over here. And then maybe your eyes might dart here to see if they're going to die from the combo first before you spend that meter. And then your eyes could even dart over here for a DHC opportunity, depending on your bars of ki or other circumstances. So from neutral, well, not neutral, but from fighting, your eyes can hit 4 different places. Wait, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 different places. Sorry. That's 3 different places that your eyes need to move and gather information quickly. When you're being attacked, your eyes can go wherever you want, like I mentioned. But during the fight, these 3 places, or while you're doing a combo, sorry, these 3 places are somewhere your eye's going to have to go. During neutral, while you're bouncing around, trying to land the hit confirms and so on, your eyes need to look a lot of places. So you need to look at their health. If they tagged an assist, you need to keep track of when that assist is going to come back. You have to make sure that they haven't got energy to pull off any shenanigans. You need to look at your energy to see if you can pull off any shenanigans. And you need to look at your character's health to make sure you can get away with failing some shenanigans. Is the risk worth the reward based on my health? And in a real match, you would need to look at time. So this is a lot of places to look and glance quickly while keeping your eyes focused on the characters to make sure that they're not going for some crazy mix-ups. There's no assist flying in, trying to do some crap on you. Making sure that your assist landed the attack and trying to get a hit confirm or some shit. There's a lot of stuff that your eyes need to do in a match. And that's what makes the UI super important. So, in terms of Dragon Ball, what do you actually need to look at? I mentioned vaguely what you need to look at. But for the most part, in my personal opinion, other people might consider some things more important than others. But personally to me, this bar here absolutely does not matter to me whatsoever. It matters a little bit more than it used to. Oops. It matters a little bit more than it used to once they made EXs cost half a bar. But for the most part, you really only need to look at this number here. Because if you have a 1 here, you can do 2 EXs. If you have a 1 here, you can do a Vanish. If you have 1 here, you can do a Super. If you have 1 here, you can DHC. Not super DHC, but you can DHC nonetheless. So, really, for me personally, the number is the only part that's important. So you don't even need to look at this bar. You really don't need to look at it. Right? So there's one thing that you need to look at down here. Well, 2 technically. Right? Because you need to look at yours and you need to look at theirs. That's 2 different eye glances for the most part. Okay? The second thing, like I said, you don't need to really look at your sparking. You know if you've popped sparking or not. But you need to look at theirs. You need to know if they have theirs. Maybe they popped theirs and you don't remember, but you need to know theirs, and you need to know their health. and you need to know your health. So, and for the most part in Dragon Ball, you don't need to care about the time. Only I've seen very few Dragon Ball matches go to time, and the ones that did were super professional players that can't open up Goichi. You're sitting there playing your heart out trying to kill this man, and he's just not letting you get in, but he's waiting for his perfect opportunity, and the match just runs down. But for most casual players, and even mid to high level, you're not really seeing any timeouts. So there's about 4 places that your eyes need to look all the time during a match. Besides your characters, you got to look at their energy, your health, just for reference every once in a while. But even then, you know, well, no, your health's always important. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. The enemy's health, a lot less important. Yes, you can do things like a snapback if you want to kill someone in particular, but for the most part, you really just need to focus on the person that's in. Unless you're trying to target somebody with low health, this one here is the only one that's important. Can you kill this person that's in right now with the resources that you have here? Um, that's about it. Now, let me just pull up another game here, which is Guilty Gear. So, this is the Guilty Gear UI that everybody hated. So, actually, I'm going to pull up this picture. This is the Guilty Gear UI that everybody hated so much. They didn't like that the UI moved. They didn't like how plain it looked, and they hated the big beat numbers. Stuff like that. They hated a lot of stuff about it. I thought this UI was genius when I first saw it. I thought it was absolutely genius. So, let me walk you through why. So, we've got the same elements that Dragon Ball has, basically. You've got... Let's do green on this one, I think. Yeah. We've got health bar. We have burst. And then I think this down this one here, I believe, is the Roman cancel gauge, which I admit that probably needed changing. I will admit that. And then you've got your meter down here. And yeah, that's it. Oh, and time. And rounds. Dragon Ball doesn't have rounds, so of course I didn't really bring that up. So, what do we have to look at here? So, not counting the same things for each side. We've got rounds. We've got 1, 2 for time, burst, and Roman cancel is 4, and health 5. So 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things to take note of. Oh, 7. Sorry. The fight itself. You could even argue that the combo meter is something that you need to look at, because once it stops, you dropped your combo. So you could argue that that's important, but let's just say it's not. So you got 7 elements to look at. Now, like I explained about playing a game and focusing on the characters themselves, because you don't want to get opened up, where does your eyes need to dart to? You need to dart down here to see what they're capable of. You need to dart down here to see what you're capable of. You need to dart up here to your life, because you need to know what you should be, looking out for. And you need to look at what they're going to do with their life, and whether or not they can burst out of your next combo, whether or not they can Roman cancel their next one. And you need to pay attention to whether or not the round's going to end soon, and if you need to do something quickly. Or, and hell, you can even look at the rounds to know if you should bother wasting any resources. Do you take a big gamble if you've got another round to play with? So there's a lot of things that your eyes need to dart around to during a match. And that's what makes this UI so genius. I'm actually going to open up another one so that I can pull up this for reference. So if we go back to the Dragon Ball one, Every time I want to keep track of something, my eyes need to shift and change, right? So let me just say that let's get this, clear it green. Let's get a paintbrush. All right, let's say Jiren's got full health, right? Sorry for paint. So let's say Jiren's got full health, right? So if I want to check Jiren's health right now, I need to look up here. Okay? That's where I need to look. If I want to check Kefla's health, I need to look here. Let's say Kefla. Why do I keep saying Kefla? If Kefla's health is lower, maybe I need to look here. Or if Jiren's health is where it is right now, I need to, quickly look here. So just for his health bar alone, I need to look in several different locations. Several different locations. Just to get that little bit of information. Now, you don't think that's much, but... And you think that your eyes can go straight to it, right? Now, Dragon Ball's UI is a bit... It's pretty good. It's got a lot of information in a lot of good places. But, like I said, if Jiren's health is full, I look here, and I need to know he's got his burst. Now, I could probably look and see his burst in my peripheral vision. I could probably do that. But if not, I have to look here for his health, or here, because it's here, right? But I'm going to pretend he's got full health. So I have to look here, then I have to look here. When I do that, it could be, I could do it during a muscle memory combo, that's not a big deal. But the point I'm trying to make is, to get all of the information I need for the opponent's offense, I need to look at health, I need to look at burst, and then I need to look down here at energy, and maybe if his assist is available and how much health they have. I need to look in 4 different places just to get a gauge on what the opponent can do on their offense, maybe even on their defense, because I need to know if he's going to vanish out with 1 meter. I need to know if it tags likely because he wants to recover this blue life. It's very quick thinking stuff. Now, if you go back to Guilty Gear, right? This is the UI that everybody likes, right? Well, this isn't the new UI, is it? I think it's changed since this. But I have video, so that works out. Yeah, so this is the new UI that everybody likes now, right? We've got the burst. Let me print screen that, actually. So, yeah. Anyway. Sorry. There we go. So we've now got the health moves down gradually. Can I have green, please? Thank you. So, and a bigger pen. Okay, I didn't need it that big. Jesus. Crayon. Is that even... Son of a... Oh, forget it. So you got you got your health that moves down gradually. You've got your rounds are still in the same place. And now your burst and your Roman cancels are in the center of the screen. So when fighting, for this what is this? It's like paint, right? Okay, this brush. So when fighting, your eyes need to go down here, up here to the exact location of your health bar, then at this burst, and then look at this tiny Roman cancel meter, as well as time and rounds. Now, that's the UI that everyone thinks is better. You need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as well as looking at characters. 7. 7 eye movements to get some basic information. That's the UI everybody thinks is better. Okay, sure. But if we go back to, where the hell is it? All right, but if we go back to this UI, the one that moved that everybody hated, where do we have to look? So we need to look at the fighters, we need to look at the energy meter, and we need to look right here. That is it. Well, like I said, if you want to count rounds in time, right? But you need to look wherever this is, because this moved with you. Why does your eye need to come all the way over here? Or why does it need to come halfway up the bar? Or let's say your health is full, like over here on the left-hand side. Well, it's almost full. Right? Like on the new system, you would have to come here. Let me just pull up the new picture, sorry. Right? You would need to come and look here, and then back to the middle for your burst information. And that is two different eye movements. I mean, yes, you could glare at a lot of this stuff. Right? You can glare at it, but for the most part, you're looking at two different points for two different pieces of information. But the beauty of the old Guilty Gear UI was that it traveled with. When you were at full health, the bar was up here, along with your burst and roam and cancel information. As your health depleted, your health and burst and roam and cancel information stayed with it. It's one eye movement. This is the section. If your burst is here, I mean, technically you don't even need to look at your health bar anymore. Really, you don't need to look at it. If your burst meter is here, your health is here. So you only need to look at your burst information. If your burst information is over here, why do I keep pointing to this one it's not there? Sorry. If your burst is here, you're probably good on health. So you got your burst, you got your roaming available, and you've got over half HP. One look. That's all it took. One look. So during a fight, you're looking here. You need to check your super meter real quick. Check your health is okay before you go on offense. Two looks. Two looks. Down and up, back to center. Energy good, health good. Chip's perspective. Energy not so good, health even worse. Two looks. Chip maybe needs to look at 3 because, he's in a bad position, right now. So he'd have to be, energy ain't looking too hot. Player 1's health is looking really good, along with his burst and roam and cancel. It's one section, remember? Because the bar moves with it. So his health is good, and his bar is good. That's all. If his bar is here, that means his health is here. You don't need to look at the burst at the center, and then go over here and look at his health over here. Burst and health, together. One fluid eye motion. 1, 2. Back to center for neutral. And this is the UI that everybody thought was awful. Why does it move? That's so confusing. I don't like it. It just needs to stand still. No. That's absolutely brilliant. And I feel like a lot of people didn't truly get it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe... Did anyone... I don't know if anybody got their hands on this version, right? Did anyone play this version of the game before devs? I mean, not before devs. I mean... Was it only devs that played this version of the game with the moving UI? When people got their hands on it, I think it had already switched to the static one, I believe. I'm probably wrong about that. Probably wrong. But I think it had already moved to this before people got their hands on it. I believe. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But yeah, and I was listening to the I believe it was the Ultra Chen podcast. Is that what it's called? The Ultra Chen podcast? It might be. I'm not sure. If that is not the name of it, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, I was listening to that the other day, and they had an interesting question topic on there about um, whether or not uh, game developers should be listening to as much fan feedback. It was something along those lines about sh- is listening to fan feedback hindering game innovation, and I absolutely believe it is. Um, you know, some of the greatest games of our time didn't have the influence of us. They didn't have us chirping on Twitter, complaining and bitching. And these are some of the greatest games ever made. Any game that you like from back in the day didn't have your influence all over it. The game devs went out there and did some work, and they came out with amazing products. Some missed the line, sure, but game devs know what they're doing. You know, they know what they're doing, and you don't make 10 Guilty Gear games without knowing how to design your game. You know, they come out with the moving health bars and the moving burst because they realize, yo, this is a crazy game. Guilty Gear can get crazy. Now, Strive is looking to not be as crazy as previous installments, but for the most part, Guilty Gear is a goddamn crazy game. So we need to limit how much you need to be looking in other places as much as possible. We need to limit that. You're going on some hardcore defense because somebody's giving you unrelenting pressure. You need some information quickly. You don't need to go all over the state. Get health bars, get bursts, get time, know if you need to go in this round, know if your health's good enough to try something risky. You've already got those choices in your mind that you're trying to make. The UI needs to be simpler. Having the moving health bars and the moving burst gauge was genius. It's one look. If your health is here, if your burst gauge is here, that means your health is here. You don't need to look at this. You don't need to look at this. You could play Guilty Gear off the burst gauge alone. You could play it. If your burst gauge started here and it got closer and closer to the center, and you knew that you died when this reached here, it's the same difference. Why do you need a color bar to indicate your health? Yeah, it'd be really hard to tell how much health you had, but let's face it. If, for instance, well, Chip's health in particular, right? He can maybe take, because moves hit hard in this game now. He can maybe survive, I don't know, 3 pokes, maybe? If they're all jabs, maybe? He can't afford to get hit, really. It really, he can only really afford to get hit once or twice. Maybe. And he's dead. Right? So knowing that he's got this much health, really not important. Right? Really not important. If we literally did this, put that here, right? And that was his health bar. If his health bar's here, he knows, oh shit. Ah shit. I am not in good standing right now. One more hit and click, click, dead. Once it hits the center. Obviously, a health bar is a good indication of life. I'm not saying you replace the health bars, but you get what I am trying to say here in terms of that the health bar is not as important as people think it is. And another thing in terms of fighting games, they all look super pretty. We like the visuals, we like the aesthetics, we like the backgrounds, we like the flashy supers, right? But when you start playing a fighting game for hardcore for a week or two, all this stuff becomes blurry. You don't notice the crease in Kai's pants or the muscle definition in Chip's chest. You do not notice that stuff as much after a couple of weeks of playing a fighting game. It is all a blur of motions that you need to look out for. Goku doing a 2M. You're not looking at Goku's hammer pants stretching from here to here. You're not looking at that. You're just looking at a swoosh of orange, or whatever color the character's wearing. But, you're looking for a swoosh of orange. I said that weird. Swoosh of orange going from here to here. It all becomes such a blur anyway. Do you think every single time somebody's looking to see whether or not they have burst meter, they're actually reading the word burst? Or are they just looking for whether or not this blue section's glowing? That's the point I'm trying to make. So, yeah, I just wanted to briefly just talk on this point for a bit, because every single time this game gets a video, gets a news update, or anything, people love to chime in about this UI and how bad it is. And quite frankly, I think it's worse now. It's like every other UI. All the information that you think it's simple. You think the UI is simple and less complicated because it doesn't move. You think that because it's still. That's what you think. But all that has really done is made it so that you need to look up here for 3 or 4 different pieces of information. Your eyes can't take all that information at once. You would need to focus on this for a second or two. If you glance up there for a quick second, you're not going to get number of rounds, exact amount of health, burst glowing, and this Roman cancel gauge. You think you're going to get all that in a quick glance? No. You're going to have to double take. You are going to have to double take. You are going to have to double take. Especially if your health is up here. That means you have to go over here first. Then get rounds. Then get burst. Then get Roman cancel. Not even mentioning your tension, or whether or not when you're reading this, Zato's coming at you with some shit down here. Like, compared to this one here, you only need to look here. You look up, burst is glowing, that's good. Roman cancel is half full, that's good. And because you grabbed that information about the position of your burst gauge, you know that your health is low too. You don't need to look here. And let's face it, I've been very generous, or not so generous, I guess, talking about the amount of things you need to look at. You should be keeping track of the damn rounds, okay? So you don't need to look at this. And then after a few weeks of playing, you'll know how many matches run down to time. So that'll become null and void eventually too. So in terms of innovation and UI design, I preferred this one. I think this one was much better of a design compared to the new one that we've got now. I think that people don't look into it enough. I think a lot of people just called it ugly and saw it as confusing. And you have to realize that when people were complaining about the UI being confusing and hard to read and oh my god, nobody had even played it yet. Nobody had even played it when it was first shown off, and when it first showed that it was moving, nobody had played it yet. How do you know that's confusing to read? You're not playing the game. You're not focusing. Your eyes are not looking and trying to visualize because you're not playing the game. I've played fighters since it came out. I know what my eyes do in the match. When I'm comboing somebody, I'm looking down here. When the combo ends, I look down here quickly. And before the combo ended, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Sorry, let me back up. While I'm comboing, I'm looking here. While I'm still comboing, I look here. And then when the combo ends, I look down here. That's what I do. How much meter have I got to do what I need to do with this up here? Depending on the situation that the combo ends with, I need to look down here to see what he is capable of on his wake up. That's what it's about. Guilty Gear, the same thing. Let's say the same thing happens, right? Let's say I'm a good Guilty Gear player. I start combo. I see what meter I have to use. I go up here. I have to look at his health. And then I don't know wake up timings on Guilty Gear. I don't know. I haven't played it. But let's say I end. So now, if we take my Dragon Ball way, I've looked at my 2 places, looked at my meter and his health to gauge what combo I do. After the combo is over, I might look here to see what he can do. And then I need to look back up here to see what he can do about his burst and his Roman cancels and whether or not the next thing he can do is safe. This is information that I'm having to dart around for quickly. Dragon Ball, it was 2 places. Well, 3 places during the combo. It was 3 places. Because it was here during the combo, here during the combo, and then here at the end of it. Whereas Guilty Gear, it was here during, here up here during, and then at the end of the combo, it was down here and back up here again to just double check whether or not he had a burst or not. I could maybe get that information during the combo, but once again, like I said, if you're glancing at this mess up here, if you're glancing at that briefly, that's a lot of information to take in. Health, burst, and Roman cancel gauge. And that, and all the information's right here because, okay, in this specific, that's technically my health bar based on this situation, but pretend it isn't. But, if his health bar's up here, which technically it is, I need to glance over here, then look at the burst, then look at the Roman cancel gauge. It's not clear. It's not clear. I mean, they really need to change this Roman cancel gauge. I don't know how visual, how. Let's have a look at this video here. Is it obvious? Is it? I mean, it's glowing pink, so you could argue that it is. Wait, is that even the Roman? Oh, no, that's the stun gauge. Sorry. That is not the Roman cancel gauge. I think it was the Roman cancel gauge at one point, because I do believe on this, it actually... Not that one. I believe on this picture, it actually says RC. So I think it was the Roman cancel gauge at one point, because that says RC. So I think it was. So my bad there. So they've obviously changed that. But yeah, so this is the stun gauge now. Okay. But yeah. Wow, I was concerned, about me rambling, which I probably did. But, yeah. So this video went on a little longer than I wanted to. And I apologize for that. But hopefully you get a little idea of what I'm talking about in terms of UI design and why you shouldn't judge things too harshly until you get your hands on them. If let's say when Guilty Gear comes out in April, everybody played it and everyone was like, nah, they need to change that UI, then they can change it. People act like games are set in stone when they come out. If the UI was truly a problem, they could change it after release. Why does this game need to be perfect coming out of the door? Well, let me rephrase that. The game should be perfect coming out of the door, absolutely. But you get what I'm saying. Let's just let this play out for a second here. This is going to be really hard to analyze just because I'm not playing, so I'm not really too sure what I should be looking out for. See, a lot of people hate the giant numbers too, right? A lot of people hate them. But please tell me at what point this fucking 7 is in your way of reading this situation. Go on. Please please explain this to me. This giant number 8 is getting in the way of all the fighting happening on the left-hand screen, is it? Please don't let this 8 get in your way. There's so much happening here on this right-hand side. Don't let it distract you that he's going to poke your toes. Wow, he actually did. He actually did poke his toes. Wow, okay. Don't let that distract you or anything. People just... Unfortunately, vocal minorities always seem to be heard. If you like something, it's very important that you combat vocal minorities with positivity. So, if a lot of people are saying, oh, this guy, I hate Kai's new look, it looks like trash, blah, 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 and that's all you're hearing, and the devs are like, we are looking into Kai's new look. If you like Kai's new look, send out tweets, message them, be like, no, I like Kai's look, I think Kai's look is great. They need to hear that a lot of people step up and tell developers what they don't like about something. Very few people like to say when they like something. Hell, I don't do it enough. I probably should. I don't do it enough. Maybe if I would have said more about the old UI, maybe it would still be in the game. Because maybe some more people would have been like, oh, I never thought of it that way. It is actually a clever design. Oh, yeah, maybe I could have gotten more people on the bandwagon, and they would have seen a lot more positivity. Like, oh, okay, we didn't miss the mark with this UI. People do like it. You get what I'm trying to say? It's a lot of information to take in. Look at this, right? Zato has 2 energy bars because he's got his eddy meter. So that's even more information you may need to look at. It's got even more now. I just want to point out here as well. He's going for all this block strings and all this stuff, right? Health is over here. All other information is here and down here. Whereas previously, on the old UI, burst, and I guess this is the stun gauge now, it's not the Roman cancel gauge, but the point still stands. Burst would have been up here with the health. You look up here, he's got 70% health and a burst. That would have been information you could get straight away. 70% health and burst. That would have been information you had from the get-go. Looking at Soul Bad Guy, 70% health. You gotta look over here for burst. I don't know. I liked the old UI. That's my personal opinion. If you think differently, let me know. If you've played a game with a moving UI before and you absolutely hated it, let me know why. Be very interested to know. I kind of rambled, so I'm going to call it quits for this video right now, and we'll be all playing Guilty Gear in the beta. Well, I won't, because I don't have a PlayStation, but we'll all be playing Guilty Gear soon. So, for now, peace out, and I'll catch you next time.